The transfer portal's on fire. 37th time this month I have started a segment like this. I'm going to hit the two big names immediately because as of our live broadcast right now, we don't have updates on Caleb Williams. Now, what we do have is we do have other movement going on at USC. Romello Height was an edge rusher from Auburn, banged up this past year. They didn't get a lot of production out of him. USC just brought him on board today. Still no Caleb Williams, though. We are still waiting for the official transfer destination of the five-star quarterback from Oklahoma. But here's what's funny right now. If you follow the USC football account on Twitter, you know that like many other programs, they have a certain thing that they like to do when they get good news. So either a high school commitment or in this case, if they know a transfer portal guy has officially inked with them, they know a little bit ahead of time. So the USC Twitter account just simply tweets out the deuce emoji, fight on, and therefore you know something's coming. Well, here is the problem there. Classic conundrum. Everybody is on pins and needles waiting to see what Caleb Williams does. And USC has gotten half a dozen transfer portal commits this past calendar week alone. And so they've put out half a dozen of those fight on emojis, and every time your phone blows up, Caleb must have committed, here comes Caleb Williams, and then you look and it's, oh, it's Travis Dye. Oh, it's Romello Height. These are still big-time additions, but yet it's so anticlimactic, and so you start to ask yourself, is there going to be a telltale sign? When they finally put out that fight on emoji, elsewhere known as the deuces emoji or the peace emoji, when they finally put that thing out there, is there going to be like a little added flair on it to let us know it's Caleb Williams? Or is he going to get the same deuces emoji that everyone else has? Everyone is waiting on this, but they are brilliantly playing this right now out in Southern Cal when it comes to social media. So that's the update on Caleb Williams. The update is there's no update. What about Jackson Dart? There's more and more smoke around Jackson Dart that makes me think that I feel pretty secure in our prediction of Ole Miss. Now, this is not official, but as you know, we have talked about Jackson Dart for the last 3 or 4 shows. This is the quarterback transfer from USC, and it looks like it's down to Oklahoma and Ole Miss and Brigham Young. We've told you that. And it also looks like he may be attached at the hip with Michael Trigg, who's a tight end transfer from USC. They visited Norman, they visited Brigham Young, they have visited Ole Miss, so they've gotten the visits out of the way, which stands to reason we are shrugging right now because we really don't know what the holdup is. We don't know what the timetable is. I really feel good about Ole Miss. Ole Miss, just folks around the program, they feel really good, and they certainly would tell you if we had Lane Kiffin on the show right now and we injected truth serum into him, we probably wouldn't need to. He's pretty forthright, and he's invited on the show whenever he wants to come on. He would probably tell you, yeah, I think we're going to get him, but if we don't, we're not going to sweat it because we certainly feel we've done all we can to land him, and probably both of them, being Dart and Trigg. You know, the quarterback transfer market in and of itself is wild. Look at the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, these are the 2022 Heisman odds from Caesars Sportsbook. Now, granted, that's a long way away, but it's fun to look at these sorts of things. The highlighted names out of this top 10 right now constitute quarterbacks who have transferred. So whether you got JT Daniels, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, Casey Thompson, Spencer Rattler, Caleb Williams, all those names are among the Heisman top 10 betting favorites, odds-on favorites for this upcoming year. And all of them have either transferred or are currently in the portal, i.e. Caleb Williams, i.e. JT Daniels. And look, you do not see Dart's name on there. You don't see Jackson Dart. I can assure you, if in the next 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days he lands at Ole Miss, if they don't put him on there, you can write his name in pencil because Jackson Dart is certainly one of the top 10 favorites in the Heisman race if he gets added to a Lane Kiffin offense, which, by the way, has also added other pieces. I think we'll end up doing an Ole Miss transfer portal segment on this show eventually. Also, Arkansas, not to be outdone, added Latavius Brinney today. He is a former defensive back now, former safety from the University of Georgia. This is not a guy who rode the bench. Brinney started 11 games for him. I think he played in 13 games for him this year at safety. This is the 5th 4-star player that Arkansas has added from the transfer portal. I'm going to repeat that sentence because it's a big deal. This is the 5th 4-star player that Arkansas has added from the transfer portal in this cycle. Arkansas, they've got a couple of spots in the secondary to fill, so this is very important. They're not merely adding depth. Brinney's probably going to be an immediate contributor for them, barring injury or whatnot, but also this coincides with a big recruiting weekend up there, and we're going to be talking about this more and more as we get sort of out of portal season and then we approach spring. This Wednesday we got a 5-star reveal show coming up, for example, for the 2023 class. Arkansas is really killing it in 2023 recruiting. We got the 2022 signing day coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll be down in Fort Lauderdale for another big show. But the 2023 class is already coming together for them. They're ranked top 5 right now. Of course, you've got the cynic out there who would say, well, they won't be top 5 when it's time to actually put pen to paper next year. Look, maybe they're not. But remember when Penn State, Jesse, you remember this. You remember when your Penn State Nittany Lions, they were number 1 for a long time. And I made a pretty big deal about it. Tweeted out a couple of times, hey, congrats. As of this moment, Penn State's ranked number 1. And everyone said, well, they're not going to finish number 1. Okay, but they're like 6 right now. That's a big deal. You don't formally go from ranked number 1 to outside the top 30. So the point is, unless all the kids decommit, I can pretty much guarantee Arkansas is going to have a nice, solid 2023 recruiting class. And as you know, it is our personal belief on here that we are blending those two concepts. We are blending the players you're adding traditionally, and we are certainly combining that with the guys you get out of the portal. Arkansas is killing it. Arkansas, destination program. What about Jermaine Burton? This is huge news. This has happened in the past hour to hour and a half. Former now Georgia wide receiver Jermaine Burton, he has portaled. It is a verb. It has been a verb ever since we established it as a verb about a month ago. Jermaine Burton has portaled from Georgia to Alabama. This is in addition to them adding Jermaine Gibbs, who was the big-time running back from Georgia Tech. This is in addition to them adding Eli Ricks, who's a 5-star corner out of LSU. Nick Saban said once upon a time, feels like an eternity ago, it was only like a year ago, someone asked him about the transfer portal, and he shrugged, and he said, we'll probably lose some good players, we'll probably add some great players. And Alabama's lost a lot of good players this cycle to the transfer portal. I don't think they were exactly fighting on those guys' ways out the door, respectively. But now you've seen what's come in the door. Jermaine Burton just made a multi-million-dollar decision as it relates to his future. More on that in a second. Gibbs was maybe one of the very best players in the ACC as a conference last year, and you didn't know a lot about him because he was playing for a subpar team at Georgia Tech. And Eli Ricks is one of the best defensive back prospects in the entire nation. And Nick Saban's just kind of added all of them. And here's what you don't know. What you don't have a way of knowing, but I can assure you, you can assume is reality, is how many guys are reaching out to Alabama every day who are currently on rosters looking for a spot, who are probably either told, wait, or they're told, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. We may have offered you out of high school, you should have come then. This is exactly how Nick Saban told you this would play out. Now, what kind of addition is this? It is a surefire starter, future NFL first, second round kind of talent. That's who Jermaine Burton is. Jermaine Burton is the kind of guy that if he's healthy, which he wasn't always at Georgia, but if he is healthy, he's going to go from being a solid, dependable receiver who never played with a star quarterback to being a 1,500-plus yard reception kind of guy in yardage with Bryce Young. And he's also going to be a guy who no one's talking about really in the next year's mock drafts right now to doing exactly what Jamison Williams just did. He does not mirror the skill set of Jamison Williams, but he doesn't need to either. Jamison Williams came in, and they had a bunch of true freshmen aside from John Mechie. Now Jermaine Burton comes in, and Jermaine Burton is going to be a rock-solid, known commodity piece in that receiver room. And now you got a year's worth of seasoning on guys like a Jai Hall. You got a year's worth of seasoning on JoJo Earl and Christian Leary and Ja'Cory Brooks. They're going to have a really good receiver room. It's question mark at tight end to me. They got Latu back. They don't have a traditional stretch the field tight end. Alabama's going to be really, really good next year. I know that shocks all of you, but Nick Saban just made another big pickup. The transfer portal is on fire. Now, here's the good news. If you don't like all the talk about the portal, eventually this will subside because the drop add dates, especially for programs that are on the semester system, that's coming up very soon. The quarter system programs, they can go a little bit deeper, but I think that by the time we get into February, this will start to subside, and then there'll be another huge wave after spring practice.